most scholars call Section 20 the Constitution of the Church, which tells you something about its importance and how it grounds us, just like we talked about in the insights. That should also tell you a little bit about how hard it is to teach, because Section 20 doesn't have a lot of story behind it. It's just a lot of doctrine kind of packed into a tight space. And a lot of the practices of the church in the 1830s and the different priesthood offices and what the verbiage of the sacrament prayer should be, it goes from one thing to the next, and it's kind of hard to study, especially as a kid. So I wanted to give you some fun way to do it. And since my son Sam is so big into basketball lately, like he's at that point where he's collecting shoes and putting them in boxes, and he loves basketball. So I wanted to make something that would really appeal to Sam. And my hope then is that it'll appeal to every teenage boy that you're teaching or teenage girl. They'll love it. Here's basically the game. You're going to make a bunch of these. If you have a big class, you might want to make 3 or 4 of these and put them in different spots around your room. Like if you're teaching in a seminary class, maybe you put a few of these around your room. If you're teaching in a Sunday school class, you could even put them kind of all on the same wall, but just at different locations. If you're teaching at home, you might just make 2 or 3 so that you have different heights for the different size kids that you have. But you're going to make the goal first. Then you're going to play a simple trivia game. So I've taken a whole bunch of, I think there's 25 questions that are based on Section 20, and I give you the verses for each question. So there might be a simple question about where and when this revelation was received, and then there are some verses to give you a chance to get into your scriptures to find the answer. There's also a few questions that are a little bit harder, so that especially if you're teaching teenagers, they're going to have to kind of sift through these. In fact, you might want to play this game in teams. If you have a large group of kids in your Sunday school class, you might split them into 2 teams and let them play. The version of the game that I think might work the best is to play it like horse. So first you're going to ask a question. Everybody searches their scriptures to try and find the answer. The team or person that finds the answer first shouts it out. If they get it right, they get to take a shot. This is when you're going to give them a ping pong ball and you have them take their best shot at that basket. If they make the basket, then the other team has to get up and shoot from that very same spot, right? Just pick another person from that team to come over and take that shot. And they're going to keep going back and forth until somebody misses. And then whoever misses doesn't get the point. Whoever makes it does. Just like the basic game of horse. The reason I would do it that way is because then nobody's sitting for too long. Even if there's somebody who seems to know all the answers or finds things in their scriptures really fast, the other team is still up and shooting often. But you really could do any number of spins on this game. Like as your kids are playing and having fun, you might just, if you're in a family setting, you might just ask a question, and as soon as somebody finds the answer, they get to take a shot. It does take a little bit of practice to get used to this tiny little hoop. So you may want to give them some time to kind of warm up and practice on their hoop and then play the trivia game. But I'm hoping it forces your kids into their scriptures. Like they won't have a way to answer the questions unless they get into their Gospel Library app or open their physical scriptures and understand a little bit better about how valuable these verses are. These are key, pivotal doctrines that help our kids understand what we believe and why we believe it. It's also a great place for them to get familiar with, so that if they ever need the sacrament prayers or they need to know what we say at a baptism, Section 20 is their go-to spot to find it. And hopefully by playing this ridiculous basketball game, they'll remember that for much, much longer. I also gave you, just for fun, a medal. So if you play the game in your Sunday school class and one team dominates the other, you can make them all medals that they can proudly wear out the door and tell all their friends that they have conquered the Section 20 challenge. So however you use the printable, there's probably a dozen different ways to put it to use. I hope it helps your kids understand the value of Section 20 just a little bit more.